I wonder what this is. Wow, nice. The DNB loop is actually just it's just Half-Life 2. Hello. It is 2 AM, but that's okay. That is Anakin. Does Anakin even need autotune? Let's find out. Where was I? Oh, what? Well... that's an E minor. See? Wait a minute. Hold on. No, wait a second. What's our... Oh, I forgot. This has latency. That's what's happening. Alright, I got this. Now wait a second. Oh, right. That is like, you do this with a dub delay or something, and this is like kind of hard. So it goes. Wait, do we have wait.
Roger, roger.
Oh shit, wait a second. Hold on. It's like, you get the sub in here first, and then you get the...
Roger, roger. Roger, roger.
Alright, what else here? This is just from the LEGO Star Wars sound effects files. Oh, you have to know that sound. Whoa. But where is Yoda? What's the point of even doing this if there's no Yoda? Where the fuck is Yoda? Oh, I like that sound. Fun sound you can listen to when you're in space. Fucking Geonosian. Gun, whatever it's called. I used to be obsessed with those bug things. Oh, shit. Yo, hold up. Alright, hold up. I have an idea, new idea. Electro swing it. I mean, we could. But let me... I think that's in D, right? That sounds like D to me. which is 2 notes underneath this one. So if we just raise this by 2 notes, then it should just work here.
Roger, roger.
Maybe if we change this to Complex Pro and then make it twice as long.
Roger, roger.
I'm going to save this, and one day I'm going to stumble upon it and be like, remember the time I did this, and it was, why did I do that? But the show must go on, I suppose. And Anakin screaming type beat. Okay. And now we're back here. Actually, you know what? I kind of have Star Wars transitions. Do you see this? It kind of is like, you get like the someone does a one-liner, and then like Chewbacca does like the and then it's like you hear the and it just like does that. I don't know. I'm actually might be going insane, so don't listen to me. Oh. Okay. $128. Okay, little brain is Electro Swing, but big brain is French House, though. I've been on the grind with just making a bunch of stuff from scratch, so I'm gonna do the thing where I don't do that this time, and I actually use sounds I have for once. So you can see what that kind of implementation looks like. I was looking for something. Okay. Yes, yes. Yeah, okay. I win. So, like... I kinda like that. And then the classic, go into these ones. I just want a clap sound. Maybe just for that clap there. No, not that one. Wrong clap. Then easily going and grabbing like a more traditional. I don't know how to tell you this, but the Star Wars Cantina song is not copyright free. It's not royalty free. But that's, you know, it's fun. We're doing it for fun. So, you know. I just felt like the pre-shifted, like, clicky. Oh, I don't like this clap anymore. Restart. Maybe we just have to go with the classics. Maybe we just have to go with the club classics. Go and go here, and here, and here, and here, and here. I mean, I could use some claps that I made before and use them for pre-shifting because I'm good at making those. So these are ones I've made. Just use that for the pre-shifting. don't know why, I just don't like this. I'm getting really pedantic about this Star Wars Cantina song. Oh, there we go. That's a praise shift I like. See, these are claps I made. I get so obsessed with the sound, but it also doesn't work here. I need to lay off. I need to be reasonable. I need to say no more. Fine, just that. Why do I make a clap really short and then put another clap after? So there is this idea of right now in this case I've just decided last minute I'm just gonna put the clap on the beat, but there's this idea where if you're making music digitally like this and you're not like recording clap sounds yourself, then to make the psychoacoustics more like interesting to the ear is usually when I have something that comes just before the kick and clap come in that create like this little like slappy sound. It's not really sounding good to me here, but it's an effect that's like really great in a lot of other music, a lot of other songs. The whole this whole deal, you're gonna hear a lot of this in the Girls Who Are Wizards album because it's just like it's my shit. The pre-shifted clap situation. In this case, I actually don't like how it sounds. I think it's creating too much upward movement into the clap. It's just kind of having a clap that just slaps on and no big deal kind of works here better. It's kind of jacking instead of slapping. Which are actual musical terms, so don't decontextualize those. And then what you do is you do a shuffled hi-hat pattern where you have a closed hi-hat and an open hi-hat. I kind of like that one. And this hi-hat might sound really annoying right now. But that's because we haven't added the open hi-hat. So if you add the open hi-hat in between these, now it sounds like this. So what's interesting is that if you mute this open hi-hat, suddenly this hi-hat pattern falls apart again. Even though these hi-hats are on time, they're swung, it still doesn't really sound great because you don't have something to contextualize the hi-hats. So you add the hi-hat in the middle and suddenly it's... like, damn, it's kind of cool and swingy. And normally I'd process these more and fix them up more, but I'm really lazy right now, and I don't want to spend too much time on Star Wars Cantina song, so... Here's another thing, is right now, the open hi-hat kind of rings out, like, a bit long. If you're gonna change the groove a little bit, what you can do is just shorten it, not a lot, but so that it kind of has this hard fall. Versus one's more airy, and one's more tight. So depending on the feel you want, both are completely valid options. In this case, I'm a huge fan of cutting tails early, so. That's a big pet peeve of mine, is I usually do not like sounds that ring out too long unless they're like a pad or a lead or something. I mean, you notice this clap originally sounded like this, but I've shortened it to sound like this because I just like things that sound small like that. There's kind of this profound psychoacoustic effect that happens when you have this like really big sound and this really big kick drum, but then you have this tiny little clap, and it's like the clap is tiny, and yet when you put it in context with it, it kind of feels strong. The reason why is because it's like everything else kind of ebbs and flows with that clap, regardless of what the clap is doing, and so having that small clap is kind of interesting, actually. So here's the thing. Obviously, we know how the bass line and general progression of the Cantina theme goes, but I've cut the bass here, so here's all the stuff I'm removing. I'm taking out all those frequencies, so now I just have the high end. And the advantage that gives us is it means we can add a new bass line that completely disregards the original bass line as long as it harmonizes with the main melody. That's called reharmonization. I like to use Silent for warm, fuzzy basses. Let's make it from scratch, because why not? There's probably a preset in here that would do what I want, but I can't think of it right now. So I have a big saw and then a small saw. So that way we get some width, but it's also focused with this one voice here. Put the filter on. Key tracking all the way up. Warm drive. Resonance up there. And drive here. We get this funny sound. And when we get to the low end, here's my favorite. It's when you go low on this thing. Oh yeah. You put some extra distortion on here too, and then you just get this. So another thing that's important to note when you're working with synthesizers is, you see how right now with my mouse I'm moving this one knob, but then you realize that automation and modulation can help move that knob without you touching your mouse. So I go over this every time, but I know people learn every time I do this. So what we're gonna do is we take this shape here that's gonna just go ramping down, and we take that shape and apply it to the filter knob and get this. So imagine like a hand just turning that knob according to the shape, and now you get to move that filter cutoff dynamically. You can make it be short or really long. So there are different ways we could have a bass line here, and this we're in D, because yes, we're in D. So there are different kind of basses you could put underneath this. So we could have this kind of plucky one. Or we could have like a fuzzy, sustained one that sounds more like this. Or we could have like a wumpy one, which will, you take the filter back down. If you want it to wump, then you give it the attack instead. So now it's wumping. What's even crazier is if you change the saw wave to a square wave, and then it changes the sound entirely from this to this. Now it's kind of more odd. It's got some weird harmonics in there now that the saw wave didn't have. And then if you pull back that attack again and make it pluckier, well now, if you're using a square wave, then what we tend to call it a donk. You call it a donk. It's like the kind of the basis for Russian hard bass music, the classic donk. In a Russian hard bass music, they do it through FM rather than using a square wave, but you get a very similar sound regardless. So we have a donk now, and we can donk in the song. Or we could pull back to take this square wave away and just have this saw wave have no automation on the filter, and then you just have this kind of growly, kind of rich, almost like real bass guitar kind of sound. Oh, I hate to break it to you guys, but anyway, I'm sorry. If something, it's in D minor, so is Megalovania, so I don't even have to transpose it to a different key to play. So that's great. Anyway, so this is more, if you pull back the big voices one, then you can get just kind of this rubbery, real bass guitar sounding ass thing. What else? I mean, there's so many kinds of basses you can make. In fact, what if we change this saw wave to a sine wave? Well, now I got that really, really, really low one. Not a lot of high-end information on it. It's kind of tubey. It's like you have PVC piping, and you have this pulse that's coming through it. And that's what a sine wave feels like when it's in a bass setting. Very low, so there's not going to be a ton of like high-end and mid stuff, but when you can feel it. Ah yes, and then there is the respace, which can be accomplished in a couple of different ways. I don't find Silence to be particularly good at respaces, but we can do a quick res. One of the ways I tend to do it is I tend to start with a sine wave, but then I will throw it into a filter that can be distorted. And then add, in the same filter, some detuned saws. Bring that down. Then when we go over to the compressor and distortion, Hello? Oh. If you want to get especially technical, you could then throw in and... Well, we could use the filter and use a notch. Is this a notch? This one's a notch. Maybe not 16 voices, maybe more like 3. Throw an LFO on here. Actually, fun fact with Vital, you can add this random modulator here and then split the stereo so it does different random amounts on the left and right channel. Which kind of makes this raise a little bit trippy. Let's add a sine wave that's outside of all the effects, not going through any effects. This is one kind of respace. This is a more neuro respace than anything. Then before we do anything else, you want to throw on that bass mono here. Then we can go in and do some OTT stuff. I'm curious about a second filter. That's more tubey. You can also put in white noise. Makes it more purr a little bit more. This is the case where something like, I don't know, Saturn maybe? Change this to tube. This one should stay tape. So, I'm mainly just doing this because someone in chat mentioned a respace. This probably wouldn't sound good at all with this kind of song. But you know what it would do well? Let's do a little experiment here. Change this to a fast tempo. See, then now we've changed priorities here. Hi, Juno. So now we're entering drum and bass / neuro territory. And so that bass from earlier, right, maybe that bass doesn't work with like house music, but the moment you put it in a 170 plus beat, then you get... What's really cool about when you create like a really specific respace is you can hold a note and it will just keep making this evolving feeling. Like I hold this note and it just sounds like it's moving around, like it's a creature. And sometimes that gets into that almost like subharmonic stuff, and it does this like kind of tubey, like fluttery growl stuff. I love that. I love that so much. One of my biggest inspirations in the electronic music world has always been Noisia. Huge Noisia fan. I actually prefer their old stuff, like 2000s, literally 2000s Noisia, and then Noisia post 2016 when they got really into like proper neuro instead of like dance floor drum and bass stuff. I've loved neuro music. It's one of my favorite things. I try so hard to infuse my music with like neuro based stuff, even when there's no reason to, because it's just fun. Um, yeah, neuro hop being at 98 beats per minute. There is like kind of fake neuro hop on Girls for Wizards and Potion Seller. So you'll hear that. It's not proper neuro hop, but there's like this implication, this like kind of emotive feeling that there's neuro hop somewhere in there. So anyway, this is the advantage of a Reese bass is it's not great for rhythmic stuff, but it's great for being a bass padding beneath a faster drum beat. Getting started with music production, what plugins would you recommend? The ones that come with your DAW, most likely. A lot of DAWs just have great stock stuff all ready to go for you. Just learn those first before... Get very intimately familiar with your stock plugins before you buy external plugins first. That's the important thing. Because with your stock plugins, you'll start to realize what your limitations are. And then you can search for what plugins are going to help you with that limitation. For example, you should, if you're using Ableton, which I don't know if you are or not, but for someone who's using Ableton, you'll notice that, well, I mean, this is how an EQ works in Ableton, the EQ8. And it's fine. It does exactly what it's saying. But the shapes that this EQ makes are kind of annoying. You'll notice when I move the bell curves around and like, especially when you make like a high shelf and start bringing it towards the high end, everything gets kind of narrow and kind of upsetting. So you can get a really kind of unnatural sound when that starts to happen. And let's say you're very experienced using the EQ8 in Ableton, you're like, huh, I wonder if there's an EQ that doesn't do this weird shape business. Well, that's when you can upgrade to something like Pro Q3, which you'll notice once we have this bell curve here, it's not cramping at all, no matter where we move it. It's going to be very transparent and natural sounding EQ curve, whereas the Ableton one, it just keeps changing a lot, and it's not exactly ideal, especially when you get towards the high end. And there's a reason for that. There's a particular physics limitation with certain kinds of EQs that FabFilter just already FabFilter can overcome essentially. So when you start to notice limitations in your stock plugins, that's when you start to think about external plugins. So that's what I would say is get familiar with your stock stuff first. Gur hoodie is just Antonym merch. I mean, I didn't invent scene. I didn't even invent the act of wearing a Gur hoodie as a part of scene. That's like an old thing. So is it really Vylet Pony Antonym merch, or is it just you participating in the scene culture from before my time? Yes, Fruity Parametric EQ2 actually in FL Studio 2024, the new release that just came out. They actually have a mode now where it doesn't cramp towards Nyquist frequency because FL Studio is just like still goated. So I don't use FL Studio as my primary DAW at all, but FL Studio is a really great program. The problem is that if you've learned FL Studio, it's harder to learn any other DAWs because FL Studio is the weirdest one. It doesn't work the same as every other DAW does. If you learn like Reason or Ableton or Logic or Bitwig, they're all similar enough that the knowledge transfers over between them. Whereas with FL Studio, its workflow is just a little bit weird to the point where not all the skills are transferable. But if you're able to deal with that, FL Studio is a really great program. Free updates for life, which is crazy because every time Ableton has an update, I have to pay $500. So that's awesome. FL Studio, I paid $400 to own the entire thing, like half a decade ago, and I haven't had to pay a single dollar since to have the newest version. So let that sink in. Like I love Ableton, and I think it's the most capable DAW for my purposes, but Ableton isn't the best like customer service company. It's not really for the people. It's very capable, but it's not really for the people. FL Studio is for the people. FL Studio is for the culture. And also, this is a small detail, but I think it implies a lot about the company's standards. Ableton, whenever they release a demo for like a new product or an update for Ableton, the music that they have in those demos are just like not really music most people listen to. It's like not it's not bad. I don't dislike it, but I don't feel like it is like something that most people are going to immediately connect with. Whereas with FL Studio, every time they have a product demo, it's always music that sounds like the kind of stuff people want to be making with FL Studio, which is like awesome because you immediately connect with that versus Ableton. And it's a small detail, but in the long run, I feel like it implies a lot of things about the company's standards. So. Oh, and FL Studio just fixed a bunch of my problems with it in the newest update. So, I'm thinking about trying out some more FL Studio. In fact, for Paradise Valley, the Paradise Valley mixtape, I actually used FL Studio for some of that album. Not to create a whole song or complete anything, but there were just some things in FL Studio that just felt better to use there. So I reached for FL Studio for some of Paradise Valley, and then I brought it over into Ableton later. But yeah. Anyway, that's the whole thing about plugins. Let's retreat from this driven bass ever so quickly. Actually, I don't even have to do that. I can just do this. If you were to learn from scratch, definitely Ableton. Because Ableton, you're going to pick up a lot of skills that will be transferable to every other DAW out there. So, then if you pick up FL Studio and you end up liking it more, then I think you're set. Because you know things from Ableton will transfer to other things. And you know FL Studio, and you know your preferences. So at that point, you should just stick with FL Studio if you prefer it. In life, there is no bad DAW. There's no bad music software except for Pro Tools. There's no bad DAW except for Pro Tools. That's what I'll say. You like Reason, you like Bitwig, you like FL Studio, Cubase, Logic, Ableton. All valid choices. The only invalid choice is Pro Tools. Which is tough because if you want to get like an engineering job in music and audio, then unfortunately you have to learn how to use Pro Tools because the industry is controlled by like 55-year-old white men who have only used the same program since forever and have pushed it into every school and classroom and engineering world place, every studio around the world. Um, Pro Tools is the archaic equivalent of Photoshop, except even Photoshop is slightly more usable than Pro Tools if those things transfer. If you understand what I mean. Um, yeah, Pro Tools and Avid, they're like Photoshop and Adobe. Same kind of business practices, same janky software. I use Affinity Serif products, and I prefer them over Adobe products. Very, very much, and they're far cheaper. It's like they're not cheaper because they're worse than Photoshop. It's just they're priced correctly. That's all. Um. Yeah, but Pro Tools is super archaic. It costs you a fortune to even use it. What's the stock FL Scream? What's the stock FL Scream? I'm scared. What does that mean? Oh, I don't know if I want to know. Well, I do have good news. Um, Let me see if I can find the thing. Or I wonder if I'm gonna open FL Studio and see if I have it installed. I don't remember if I have it installed. I don't remember if I've. How do I get pretty? Wait. Oh yes. Oh, awesome. Yes. Okay. Here we go. So here's my FL Studio. And very importantly, I think it was an artist associated with Siva Gunner made this for FL Studio. And she does this when you press play, which is awesome. You can... It's great. It's incredible. This is one of the reasons why FL wins over Ableton. Because the Ableton developers don't understand what fun is. FL Studio understands what fun is. But yeah. She does not dance to the rhythm, but she dances, and that's all that matters. But yeah. I have my FL Studio set to glossy because that's the superior way. FL Scream is when Michael Gira opens FL Studios for the first time and implodes screaming. Does anyone know if it's pronounced Michael Gira or Michael Gira? I don't actually know. I don't think I've ever heard him say his name. I don't know if he cares. Data patches packs legacy vocals. Oh, I think I could just search. Oh. There's just a lot of things in there. It is Michael Gira. Okay. Good. FLS Scream 01. I'm really scared. Okay. That's good. Alright. Why? You know what? Noelle, this is what you're dancing to today. It actually is in sync. That's actually really upsetting. Wait, I wonder if it is tempo synced. Hold on, what if I change the tempo? Oh! Oh! Okay. So you weren't hallucinating. It was in sync. I did not realize it sped up and slowed down based on tempo. Of course it would, because it can read the tempo information. It's inside of FL Studio. I'm just silly. I was like, when you said that, like, oh, she's dancing to it. I'm like, no, that's probably just your mind playing tricks on you. We have like selective biases towards like the dancing GIF characters. So you're probably just like approximating it. But then I looked at it and I saw it cycle 1, 2, 3, 4 times. It's like, okay, no, it's actually in sync, which is awesome. So FL Studio, I apologize for saying it didn't sync to the tempo, because it does. That's even cooler. Shout out FL Studio. So yeah. Anyway.
No, no, no! Everyone!
Wait. Noelle was still there? 1 second. No, Noelle wanted to. It was just, I quit FL Studio, but she's entered my system now, it would seem, which is very exciting. That was really scary. Okay. Very good, very good, very good. So, I don't think the sine wave works for this. I think having the... You're the first person in history to be able to use silence without shitty Reddit patches. How does that feel? Wait, what do you mean? With silence, I've only ever done patches from scratch or just used the first 4 pages of presets. I think there were only like 2 or 3 times in history I've reached for even a different bank. Notorious preset junkie plugin. I mean, I get it. Silence kind of incredible. But I've been doing sound design from scratch with Silent for 10 years. Or 12... Whoops. Sorry. 12 years. Oh, that hurts to say. I've been doing sound design in Scratch. Sound design from scratch in Silent for 12 years. So, I'm just used to it. The controls are so familiar to me, and it has the best goddamn low-pass filter in the world. If I could take Silence low-pass filter and put it on everything else, then, like, the world would be a better place. The fact that Silence filter is so good makes it impossible for me to, like, use a different synth sometimes. Yeah, Serum's filters are really bad. I mean, they're like linear filters, like just the low pass, high pass, etc. Their weird filters are pretty cool, but like if Serum had a rich low pass filter, I might consider using Silent less. But I've been using Silent for 12 years and I haven't stopped. I originally had a pirated version, and then I eventually paid for it and said this is a legal copy, everyone. But I didn't start with a legal copy. But shout out to Leonard Digital for making one of the best synthesizers of all time. For me personally, I have very little interest in using analog synthesizers because Sylenth just sounds as good as a real analog synthesizer. It's just that goddamn good. It's not super complex, right? But everything it does to perfection. It's wonderful. I didn't realize you could import filters into Serum, but that's an interesting concept. I don't understand how it would be able to reproduce the non-linearities of it, though. Yeah, it used to say licensed to Team Error or something. I don't remember which one it was. So it was one of the 3 big dogs of, like, the 2010s. I know you can take Omnisphere's sound sources. But... Oh, I was like, why did suddenly everything get scooped when I put this into the sidechain group? And I forgot I put both this and this EQ8 curve as a demonstration of Nyquist cramping. And I didn't take it off, and I was like, why the fuck did it sound so, like, hissy at me? Why was it hissing at me? That's because I left those in. It was really funny. Grab a Kashmir cinematic drum loop and slap it on. Don't correct the BPM. This is going to be less than working on music and just shit posting all day, but like, I get it. I get it. Okay, yeah, let's do it. It's gotta be the cinematic ones. Those are one shots. It's in here. Yeah, here we go. I see 128 beats per minute ones here, but we have to do 100 beats per m for fun, and we uncorrect the tempo. So here we go. We've made the song much better now. Actually, funny is like this is almost a triplet pattern here if you just do this. But unfortunately, that's not the reality of the situation. Wait, but then we gotta get one of the Brahms. Is that in volume 1? Oh, I don't know how to read these. Is it this? There we go. Now I can make a hybrid trap song. But wait, there's more. I need everyone in chat to know that I have the hit kit. I have the hit kit. You know what that means.
Cut it, break, stop, pump it, mix.
Wrong one.
This is
Break it, get down, check them. Go! Break it, break.
P. Static. This the rhythm, the magic.
Wait, well,
The remix. Remix.
Where is it? Where to go?
Remix. Remix. Pump it up.
Where's the one where they're counting?
1. 5.
Wait, here we go. We got it.
1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3.
Oh my god. Okay. Wait. Yeah, I skipped the 4, by the way. Also, just a fun thing here. Where is this? So some of these underscores used in wall socket. So there's that sound. And then these are some of the ones that she chopped for shoot to kill. So, just some fun, just some fun lore. But what was I looking for? Okay, we're looking for a couple things here. I want to stay in the vocals for here, and we were also looking for, we're looking for the nuke. I swear I had the DJ Smokey kit. Oh, there it is. Was the tag in here? I don't think the tag was in here, actually. War Crime Riser. I don't think the tag was in here. Was it? Or no, sorry, it was in here. I got it. No, don't worry. I'm intelligent.
DJ Smokey.
Legalize nuclear.
There we go.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, I could add the IA from the Jane kit. Don't worry, I got it. Is what are you referring to? Is it? Which one is it? Sorry, I just got really addicted to that sound. Is it a vocal sound? So it's... Oh, there, found it. Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2.
Okay, but now we can perform the good stuff.
Remix.
You ready for this? We go to the hit kit again. And... hit kit. Hit kit. Where is it called? Where are they?
Yeah.
Where? Oh, there it is. These ones. That's that one. This is one of my favorite samples of all time. It's just. These ones. These are the famous 4.
1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2.
Okay, can we turn these down, please?
1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2,
But what if I told you? But we can make this beautiful.
1, 2, 3, 5.
Sorry, I turned off the loop, but I wasn't expecting it to keep going because I forgot that there was more content after that. So just the
5.
and just the drum roll is so funny. It's just like
5.
it's like so dramatic. Okay, let's delete everything, and we're left with this.
1, 2,
But what if I told you there's a better way?
1, 2, 1.
change the key. I'm freeze and flatten that. do the hi-hat trick, well, that just turns this into a UK, like two-step dubstep song, actually, which we can do. Is that called Freak Rim? It needs like a shaker, like what do I have in my room? Oh. I have the Tylenol. Now, I want to tighten this up, and something I could do is, like, chop this and, like, do this whole situation, but why would I do that when I can just use everyone's favorite shaper box, where we can just do this instead. We can even add swing this way. And maybe give that a glue compressor just to get squashed with the transients. I'm not kidding, a lot of the times it's just like, I'll be like, okay, I need a drum sample. I don't feel like looking for one. What's in my room right now? And it'll just happen that way. Do I want to make this even, like, more like this? There's that one harmonic that's like... There it is, you hear it? There we go. I have another idea as well. What if we took this entire song? So we're allowed to just make the sound using the song as the as the sound source. What makes this so fun is we can throw this into Sketch Cassette and do one of these. And maybe add some... How much disperser? It's actually just a bunch of EQ3s, as you can see down here. Now we can resample it again. And now we can bring this into here. And turn it into these percussion sounds. the way you get that sound is using the pitch envelope. If I turn the pitch envelope off, it just sounds like this. But if you make a really steep pitch envelope with a short decay, you get this sound. You could technically also make a clap with these sounds as well if we put like a redux. You take this, right? And then you add like a really harsh compressor, OTT. This is just a clap. So there's that. Okay, let's add a little pattern here. If we use the random panning thing here, we could just ping pong it around the left and right channel and get that effect. You have to remember that I've been making music for almost 18 years, so I'm kind of just used to getting in there and just like doing things. I wrote my first song when I was 7. I used GarageBand and an M1 keyboard, and then I just kept doing it. The reason why I cite 12 years is when it really mattered, is because that's when I started doing electronic music specifically. Before then I was trying to do mostly rock music. But then, I got into Skrillex, and then that changed everything. Skrillex ruined my life. Thank you, Skrillex. In a good way. Thank you, Skrillex. I mean, we just made this loop. See, this is how you make percussion loops, right? I just made this with a Tylenol bottle and the song itself, and we made this loop here. And then you could just like, I would just put that in a sample pack, and then you can use it. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually going to export this. I'll show you my process for that. So here's where I keep all the sounds that I've made. Here's the drum loops, and then this is technically a topper, I think. No, this is a percussion loop. So 13, and it's 145 beats per minute, and give it a name. And now I have a loop that I've made, which is over here. I don't do a lot of percussion loops. I do mostly everything in these folders. Oh wait, is this the... No. This sound. So this is a sound I made in, I don't remember what the sound source was. It was, I think... Oh, I made this using just a sine wave as the sound source. And I used a bunch of instances of Filterverse by Polyverse, this plugin here. A bunch of resonant comb filter things. And quantizing the pitch of those. And I made this sound. And I used this as the basis for the second to last song on Girls Who Are Wizards, so listen out for that. Process behind making an album. Do you make a lot of random demos and add the best ones, or do you make songs more purposefully? Any tips? It's every scenario you can think of, I probably do. It depends on the project. So for Girls Who Are Wizards, I had a loose idea for the story in my head. I'm gonna turn up my fan. Sorry, everyone. It's just hot in here. For Girls Who Are Wizards, and specifically, I had like a loose idea for a story and a loose idea for like kind of a journey that they go through. And so I mostly started with song titles first, because I was like conceptualizing. I think it was very important to have an order of things. And so basically, I wrote a bunch of song titles down, and then, yeah, I sent Eden the titles first, and then I slowly started making a bunch of different demos. And then every time a demo sounded like it fit one of the song titles, I was like, okay, that's the one. I'll save it for later. And in this case, what I did for the album was, once I had a demo for every single song title, I went through and finished every single song one at a time. Which is not the process for every album I do, but that's the process for Girls Who Are Wizards. For more like... For something like Homeward or Mystic Acoustics, like really, really, really lore-heavy stuff, usually that's the most involved process, where I have a huge list of song titles. I'm not going to use all of them, but I have a bunch of them that I'm ready to have, things that are all related to the story. And then I do a lot of experimentation with the demos, and I do a lot of experimentation with sound design especially. Sound design is super important for stuff like Mystic Acoustics and Homeward and the Starship Ponyville stuff. And so those ones, it's not a very clear-cut process. I'm usually doing bits and pieces of everything. I'm writing titles, I'm writing lyrics, and I'm writing feelings and ideas. I'm writing down story bits. I'm doing a lot of sound design. Just hours and hours and hours of sound design. And I'm even like playing piano and being like, oh, that's a cool chord progression. I'm just going to save the MIDI of that chord progression I just played for later. So for the bigger albums, I'm usually doing bits and pieces of everything, and then things start to hit my mind. I'm like, okay, that chord progression and those lyrics I wrote, that fits for this moment in this story. And I think I can put this together, and that's going to be this song. That's a lot more how Carousel was written. And like the Fairy Tales method. When I made Fairy Tales the album, this is the one that hurts the most. I actually wrote 100 songs for Fairy Tales, and then just narrowed it down to the 40 that sounded like they belonged the best in the album and the story. So that one I didn't really plan ahead anything. I knew what the story was, and I kind of knew the basic idea. But for Fairy Tales, I basically just wrote 100 songs, and then just picked the 40 and went with those ones. So Fairy Tales broke me. Also, 100 songs in a year's time, because Fairy Tales took me only a year to make. So, was it a year? Yeah, well, okay, it was a year and some change, because I made some demos before that year period that I carried over into that, but like Fairy Tales was mostly, all those 100 songs were made in a year. And part of the reason why I was able to have such a big output is because that's when I got kicked out. So that's all I could do is make music. I had nothing else to do. I was like in the middle of a place I'd never been before, away from home. I didn't have any like one to talk to except for my current roommate. So it was just us stuck in a room. I basically just the whole time was just new song every single day, just every day. I don't care what's going on. And what's funny is there are other a lot of Fairy Tale songs actually ended up being songs for other things. So for example, the original demo for Cutie Marks, the title track, was actually a demo that I made for Fairy Tales. It was just the first few seconds. I'm sure I have it somewhere. Here we go. I've also put this in the Cutie Marks vinyl bonus stuff for people who pledged a certain amount. But you can see the date, November 20th, 2019. This was originally in the Fairy Tales sessions, but if I play it, you'll recognize this as... And what's funny is that period in November, where we were at an Airbnb because we had nowhere to live. I was just writing music, and I got extremely sick. And so a bunch of the songs for Fairy Tales and Cutie Marks were demos I made when I was like 101 degree fever, and like almost passing out every single moment. When you hit an 8-bar loop. Okay, when you hit an 8-bar loop, listen to other songs that people have made, and then think about that structure, and be like, how can I expand this? How can I leverage this loop I have? Can I take parts of it and remove it and put it in a new section? Can I add things elsewhere? Absolutely just listen to other people's music. And there's a thing that people do. I don't really do this as much anymore. I probably should, because it would help me get out my comfort zone more. But there's this thing that people do is where they'll take an entire song that's already been made, and they'll bring it into their project, and then they'll chop up the sections, and they'll mute the song. The song is not the important part, but they look at the sections that have been imported into their song and are like, how do I now create these sections of songs? I haven't really done that since like 2018, but I probably should do it again, because there's like, I don't really think about structure very much when I'm writing my songs, so that would get me to think about structure a little bit more again. You'll notice that songs in specifically 2018 that I wrote were extremely like ABACAB pop stuff. That's because I was doing that. I was referencing other songs that focus more on structure. And now I don't really focus on structure as much anymore. But that's something that you can do when you have an 8-bar loop, is be like, okay, I'm just gonna throw another song in here. How can I expand this? You know, remove things. Removing things is a big thing. Like, for example, we have this, right? Here's an 8-bar loop we have. You want to make an intro, duplicate this, and then just start removing shit. Take the drums away. We don't need this here. We don't need the bass. Don't need that. And so now, oh, you know what? In fact, let's do this again. Same exercise. Except this time, so we have this progression here. we can fade this in. And now look, we have 2 more sections we just fade. I didn't take off the loop. That is an easy way to just start expanding your song. And what's great is you can do this and you could be super lazy about it because you're just in the sketching process. And once you have like a full structure, then you can go through and actually like refine things to be more interesting and not as lazy. You can add more instruments, you can put new ideas in there. But as long as you have something to work with to begin with, that helps a lot more than if you're just working off on an empty canvas. I can't speak sometimes, as opposed to working off of an empty canvas. I mean, if we go back to this demo, we know this part, and we know this part. And so what I did was I stripped back everything. I took away everything except for the drums and the bass, but then I introduced these little glitchy elements, which wouldn't take too much lead precedence, but they would give some more intrigue. And once I had that section laid out, then I started adding the vocals, and it creates a perfect bedding for that, and it's a great ebb and flow. What else? Oh! Let's see. Oh, what was it called? What is this? Oh, well, here's the demo for Never Looking Back, which I started in May of 2019. Let's see what the rest of these are. Oh, I never released this. I never finished this. But where's the one? Not that one. Not that one. So, you might recognize this demo from August 17, 2019. So originally, A Bit of a Monster was actually a Fairy Tales demo. I own that. Everything you just heard is all I had though, and I didn't finish it for the album. And then I was showing Neko Snicker some demos I had, and we decided let's just finish that one for their commission because it works really well with the whole synth pop element they wanted from it to begin with. So, but yeah, What's a Bit of a Monster is originally a Fairy Tales demo. I'm trying to think. Oh my god. My naming conventions for things need to improve for demos. Or they did improve, but they have not always been that great. From the same pool of demos as the original A Bit of a Monster one, we have this one. I think that was like the original idea for Never Looking Back, and I just didn't go with it. It's very hard to find things in this era of things because I just name things terribly. Oh, those are files from 2009. I've scrolled too far. There we go. Okay, there's the street rat one. Originally ID 20. Oh, well, we know this one. Okay. Very good. We know this one. What is this? Oh yeah, let's just mark up harmony. Oh, okay. Here's the one I was looking for. I should have remembered. ID 40 is a number I remember. So... let me see if I named things correctly so I could show this to you. Okay. So, on January 30th, 2020, I made this demo. So this was originally for fairy tales as well. But there's something very particular about it because it actually got another demo. And that next demo sounded like this.
You so protective of the way that I am. I can do this by myself, don't you understand? I don't need to be fixed. I'll make this life my own. And if they
So I think we know where this is going. And so that Fairy Tales demo became I Don't Need to Be Fixed. But you'll notice there's that intro part which doesn't even exist in the current version. It was still hanging on here. It was still hanging on here in the V2 version. And then in the V3 version, it's gone. It's gone. But you can hear the same chord progression is there. It's just, it's a new instrumentation. Right? So that does not sound anything like this original demo, right? Eventually became, of course.
I'll make this life my ways. Say that this text from you said you wanted to tell me something. Oh fuck.
So it's an example of like how much the fairy tale stuff was just like gouged out to use for other things in many other cases. Because these are not the only examples either. Like I've just made a lot. I made a lot of music for fairy tales, and some of it I just liked so much I didn't want to get rid of it. I have had a fear of touching demos. In fact, I've been talking about this a lot, and I'm making a big deal about it because it is a big deal to me. Maybe it'll get annoying that I keep talking about it, but I'm like kind of actually emotional about it. So in the album I'm releasing in a week, by the way, guys, 7 days. The album I'm releasing in a week, Girls Who Are Wizards. One of the big aspects about Girls Who Are Wizards is exploring nostalgia and like considering when I was younger I wanted to make a lot of EDM music in a specific way, and I was never good at it. And when I was finally like at a level with music where I could have done it, I got into this mindset that I wasn't allowed to. And what I mean by that is like, think about stuff like Zed's like cheesy pop music, and Martin Garrix's big room house stuff, and Skrillex's like scary monsters era music. I wanted to make stuff like that, but by the time I was at the skill level to do stuff like that, the industry had moved very, very, very far away from those sounds, and it was almost sort of like looked down upon to make music that was that like cheesy and that like dance oriented. And there was this period of time where people were like, oh, you have to make like edgy, super serious like bass music that's like really prolific and like full of really complicated sound design, right? And I bought into that because I wanted to fit in, and I had been like talked down. People used to talk down to me so much when I was just starting out music, which is one of the reasons I don't want to be like that, because anyone can make music, and the last thing you need is someone in your ear being like, you're not doing this right, I don't like this, or like completely hindering your creative process. Once you get to a certain point, you know what you want, right? But I bought into that. I bought into the hype of like, oh, you have to make super serious, like prolific EDM music with complicated sound design. It has to be dark and edgy and like take itself really seriously. And so I was doing that for a while. If you listen to my music between 2016 and 2018, anything that hits the electronic department in those years is really poser music. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people like that music, and that's like fine. I'm okay if they like that stuff that I did, but to me that's like poser music, because I wasn't myself. I wasn't being myself. I was doing something to like fit in with everyone else. But what that meant was I got at that skill level that I think was acceptable, and when I was there, I didn't have the drive to make this music I had always wanted to make. What I ended up doing was the music I was making before electronic music, I wanted to make progressive rock music. So instead of focusing on making cheesy EDM, I started getting into edgy, dark EDM with complicated sound design that takes itself too seriously, and progressive rock music, because I'd always wanted to do progressive rock music. And now I put out progressive rock tracks, right? Even, Fantana did the whole looking at, I Still Got Something to Teach You, which is a progressive rock song. And that was a huge achievement for me. It's like, I've finally done what I wanted to do as like a 10-year-old. But now how about the stuff I wanted to do when I was 13, 14? And that's what Girls Who Are Wizards is. It completely abandons the edgy, dark EDM, take yourself seriously mindset. And it's like just fully playful. And it's like whimsical, and it's exciting. And it's cheesy. And it's like so proud of being cheesy. It's like, it's good. It's cheese pizza, and I love cheese pizza. I don't know where I was going with this. Oh yes. So, all that said, there is a demo I made in 2015. It was called "In the Name of Friendship." That was the original title back then. I made it at the beginning of 2015, so I would have been 16 years old. It was like a 60+ second demo. It was like a 60+ second demo. And I forgot about it. I exported it, and then I basically just forgot about it. And then over the next 9 years, essentially, I would just go revisit the demo I exported on the desktop. I would just pull it up and listen to it and be like, oh, that was cool. And as I got older and older and older, I'm like, oh, damn, I wish I could make music this playful again. Because it's so cute. It's so bubbly. Like, I want to be there. I want to be there so bad. And now, all these years later, I'm starting to relearn how to access that part of my creative, side. That sort of playful, cheesy part. And while I've been working on this album, I remembered that demo, and I'm like, I think it's time to touch it one last time. And I think it's the most terrified I've ever been to add on to a demo, because now I made that song originally when I was 16. I am 25 now. And I'm looking at this song I made when I was 16 years old. And I'm like, I feel like this is a relic, something holy and something sacred, and if I do anything to it, then I will ruin everything that it stood for. So it's not just like this idea of ruining a demo that was like good, it's this idea of ruining a near decade old memory, right? It's got so much back to it. It's got so much weight to it. And the moment I got in and sat down and said, okay, this is the last song I have to finish for the album. I saved it for the very, very, very last. I went through song 1, finished, song 2, finished, song 3, finished, etc. That's how I did it. Except for DJ Goober. Was that it? And except for DJ Goober and Queen is Back. Those were done out of order. But if you take those out, I did them one at a time in order of the track list. And the moment I got and sat down and I was like, okay, this is the last song I have to finish for the album, and then the album will be done. But it's the one song I have been the most terrified to finish in my entire life. Nothing has compared to the fear of, like, opening this project. And everything's still intact, by the way, because I didn't really use a lot of plugins back then. So it was easier to keep intact, versus, like, the Fairy Tales projects are all kind of broken. Thanks, D16 group. But I sat down, and it was time, and when I actually set my mind to it, I realized I could do it. And working on the demo unlocked this part of my brain that felt like it was dormant for a really long time. And what's even crazier is in the process of making it, I was like, oh my god, I also have access to the original project for the My Past Is Not Today remix, which everyone knows, who's been around long enough, knows that's one of my favorite songs I've ever made, is the My Past Is Not Today remix, with Strigaday. And I still have the project. So I went into the project and I grabbed a couple of instruments from that project and brought it into this demo. And that was one of the big things that helped me, was having not the melodies of the My Past Is Not Today remix, but just the instruments, and I could touch them, I could play them, and it instantly transported me back to 2015. And I could write something new with it, right? Because it's an instrument, and I could write something new with it. And so what ended up happening was, after I put those instruments in, I started playing, and my brain took over. I don't know how things happened, but that kickstarted everything. Hearing those sounds come from my headphones as I played the keyboard was the most surreal thing ever, because, like, I remember doing the same thing with those exact same sounds when I was 16. And so I finished the song from its original state in 2 days. I was like, okay, I'm gonna reserve the next 3 weeks to do this demo, and I finished it in 2 days. It just came. It just, like, I felt every emotion and motivation I needed to in that moment. And so the final song for Girls Who Are Wizards is, like, the most explosive and emotional electronic dance music song I've ever made, I think. It's going to replace Little Dreams on the top 20 playlist on Spotify, so that's cool. Everyone say goodbye to Little Dreams. Me personally. And you know what's even crazier is, you think 2015 is old. Well, guess what? I found and have been recovering the original projects for Winter's End, the album Winter's End that I made when I was 13. I have the project still. I have the Seductive Turtle project, guys. It's fine. I'm a master archivist. I just have these things. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. I don't think anyone wants Seductive Turtle 2. But, you know. I have them. Unfortunately, every music project I had before the age of 12 no longer exists, unfortunately. because that was before I was like, I had my own hard drives. It was all done on a family computer. So, long story short, buy hard drives. Many of them. Have one hard drive for something, and then have another hard drive to be a copy of that something. You gotta keep this shit on lock. I currently have 4 active external hard drives on my desk right now. One of them's unplugged, but I plug it in whenever I need to do a transfer. And then in my drawers, I have 3 other hard drives on standby. You have to protect your shit, guys. I don't think there's gonna be an excited about Burger 2024. Yeah, I use other cloud services as well. Getting started making music for fun. Literally, if you're on a Mac, just pull up GarageBand and fuck around. If you're on Windows, rent to own Bitwig, because Bitwig's great. Actually, yeah, if enough people had a desire for it, we could do like a 7-inch single for Excited About Burger. If anyone wanted that for some reason, we could do that. I have the resources to do that now. Yeah, if you're on Windows, pirate FL Studio. I don't remember who suggested this to me. I can't take the credit for this, but I was talking to someone about doing a 7-inch vinyl for Excited About Burger, and then putting like something lore in the middle of it, like something cryptic. So it's just like Excited About Burger, Excited About Burger, Excited About Burger, spooky cryptic song, Excited About Burger, Excited About Burger, Excited About Burger. And someone was like, that's the sandwich, that's the burger itself in song form. I don't remember who told me that, but they're more clever than me. So there's that. A 7-inch vinyl is just like a vinyl that's 5 inches smaller than a normal vinyl record, and it just holds less music on it. Ableton's not bad on Windows, but FL Studio was originally made to be natively Windows, so. Anyway, I'm going to delete this stuff here. And so, for people who are asking what this sounded like, we went from the Cantina stuff to this. How do I master my mixes? Here, I'm gonna show you my general mastering chain. Let's pretend this is a finished song. Usually what I do is I start with a utility at the start so I can just bring the volume down. Because I don't want to do that with the master track. And then what I do is I take the I run with, where are you? It's the TR Slicky QM, and I use this for my low frequency mono maker, and then I open the Smart Ops and Quick Learn. And that helps me just do the automatic high pass and master low pass. Did it do it? There we go. So it adds a high pass and a low pass based on the information it sees. Because I don't want to do that with my own ears, because that's scary. Like, I don't trust myself, so I have the program do it. Just the high pass and low pass. Then what I'll do is sometimes I will grab... This is situational. Sometimes it sounds good, sometimes it doesn't. I'll take like a tape machine VST of some sort. And it makes a pretty big world of difference to me. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so I've added this and I've mostly gain matched it. Yeah, so even if you can't hear the frequencies that you're cutting, your processors can still hear them. So things like compressors and saturators and EQs are still going to hear that stuff and react to it. Well, specifically, compressors will. And sometimes different speaker systems will react poorly if there's information that's really loud past the hearable range. So, OTT on the master, that's just what I did for Super Pony World 2016. So, yeah. In this case, I think the tape is doing a lot of good work on the song. I'm going to turn this off and on. And when I turn it off and on, I want you to listen to the differences specifically in the low bass regions. This is not the same as boosting the low end. This does a lot of saturation and compression that just makes the low end more present. So as I turn this off and on, listen specifically to the low end. I'll start with it off. Yeah, in this case it just makes it sound way fuller and more impactful, and a little bit warmer as well. And it's not the same as just doing an EQ boost, it's a bunch of different processes happening all at once. It tames the low end while also bringing it up, and it also softens the high end a little bit. It's actually really nice. It's very subtle though if you don't know how to hear that. It goes a long way in the long run though. Because just boosting the low end will make your compressors overreact. So the way the tape machine does it is it's a lot more dynamic and works with the compression internally. So it's really nice. And then what I do is that then it becomes situational what I'm doing. In this case, I'd take a multiband compressor and I'd listen in, and split this up into different bands here. What I want the high band to be. Around here is fine, and I'd probably just smash this. Fast attack, fast release, but not a ton of ratio. So it's just kind of basic control. And then this one. I want this to sound much more open, so slower attack, faster release. And reasonable 3-to-1 ratio. And this definitely needs some impact as well, so again, slow attack. Fast release. Actually, it's medium attack, medium release for this one, and we go hard mode for the knee. And for the low end, we need the most control for this one, so we go fast attack, fast release. So we just kind of smash that in with hard knee here. And now I'm listening out for harsh harmonics that are coming through. I'm gonna ignore this one. I'm seeing some pop up here. Let's listen for that. Change this to linear phase mode. And just a sneaky little boost here just for fun. And then I like to bring the C2 on. Since this is EDM, I just like to throw on the Punch 1 preset with some transparency. So mixing it in with the... right there. Then it becomes even more situational. I'm hearing like we could probably do an EQ shift with the pull tech trick for fun. I'll do this before the compression here. And then I do 2 soothes, one for the high end, one for the low end. We could do the low end before the compressor. Let's do that first. Here. And around there. And then after the compressor, we do the high-end one. Just getting rid of those slight ones, not too much. Now, originally what I used to do after this is I would take a Pro Key 3 and I'd start adding dynamic boosts. So like... So normally that's what I'd start doing after all that, which might sound counterintuitive, but we put a limiter and a clipper after it as well. But I don't do it this way anymore. What I do now is we have this new thing called Bloom. And this does it far more dynamically, and I can do it much faster mid-side processing. So I just set this to mid-side split mode, and then I listen to the frequencies I want to hear the most come out. And then comes the fun part, the K-clip. This is the clipper. We're going to use this to bring the volume up. Set this to crisp mode. I may even consider doing a glue compressor in parallel at the end here. I don't always use a limiter anymore. I use the clipper instead. It's more transparent typically. Unless there's something that in the song the clipper doesn't like to hear. I don't really use limiters as much anymore. It just lets me have a more transparent mix. And when we could, by definition, use it before or after the clipper. But I just don't like how it sounds. Okay, so now you'll see this graph have information if the chain is on. I'm gonna turn this off and on so you can hear the difference between like the general mastered version and the original version. So we'll start with it off. So you can hear how much all those little changes over time create a much more energetic and like full sounding like master sound. I'll do it a few more times and turn it off and on so you can hear the difference, but that's what you should be hearing, because that sounds fuller, more controlled, and has more energy. One of the big things is that in the mastering process, you start to get all the instruments to sound like they're kind of stuck together, like they're kind of dynamic in the same coherency. Whereas without the mastering process, things kind of sound like they're far distant and far away, not quite playing together. So that's one of the things you do in the mastering process, is just trying to get things to stick together better. So yeah. The process can be different depending on the song, but for something like this, which is not very difficult, something that's not super loud, not super difficult, that's pretty much all you need to do. Yeah, I mean, the mastering process, you're also supposed to be doing things that help, like, you hear better on shitty systems too, so that would make sense. Like, the purpose for suppressing unimportant, like, screeching harmonics is so that they don't come through on small speakers as much. It gives more room for the other frequencies to breathe and, like, smaller speakers to be able to vibrate enough so you can hear them. So a good master is supposed to make it more accessible on every single system you listen to. A lot of the music industry right now is actually moving towards mastering music specifically for phone speakers, and only phone speakers. And I don't like that. So if you're hearing music on the radio that sounds really bassy for no reason, like things that shouldn't normally be bassy or super bassy, it's because they're mastering it for phone speakers. And I don't like that. This would sound fine on phone speakers, and it's not needlessly bassy. Why? Well, that's how you would... This master is also easier because I'm only working with this. A good master is supposed to have everything contextualized in the song. And so I would be doing automation to, like, have the processing happen less or more in different parts of the song. So that's something else I do, but there's nowhere to do that here, because it's just like an 8-bar loop times 2. Is Bloom worth the price? If you're an experienced engineer, question mark, probably not. And for the most part, I'm kind of an experienced engineer. I'm not like a studio person, right? But I have experience. I know how to EQ things. I know how to mix and master things. But I like Bloom because it takes a little bit of guesswork out of the whole process. It's because like I want it to be a little bit like brighter, but I don't want to like spend too much time making it brighter. So if it could just do that a little bit without messing up my song, then I'm gonna do that instead because it's just it's faster and less destructive to me. What site do you recommend for making music? Depends what you mean, like a site for software or a site for resources. A good song master should sound good, arguably on most headphones. Also, it's important to remember that your song sounds good in mono for a variety of reasons. So for those of you who are listening to a mono on a mono system right now, I'm about to set it to 100% stereo sides. And so if you don't hear anything, then you're listening in mono. You ready? If you heard the sounds that I just played, you were listening in stereo. If you didn't hear the sounds I just played, you're listening in mono. How many of you didn't hear it? I'm curious. Okay. Well, if you didn't hear it, then you're listening in mono. If you did hear it, congratulations, you're listening in true stereo right now. But that's why it's important your song sounds good in mono, is because clearly from the chat, not everyone's using a stereo mix, headphones, or anything. That happens. Sometimes if you're on a Discord call on your phone, it hogs the sound card, so you can only listen to mono, anything else. Sometimes if you're using a mobile speaker, that can only be in mono. Or sometimes your headphones might just be set to mono for no reason. Software side or hardware side, it just depends. So, now, for everyone who's listening in stereo, I'm going to switch it to mono. And you can hear what it sounds like in mono compared to stereo. So that's the mono version. That's the mono version of the song. If you were one of the ones who didn't hear the previous one, you're not going to hear the difference because you've been listening in mono the whole time. For everyone else who's listening in stereo, you're now being able to hear it in mono because I've set it to that. And when you're making music that sounds super wide, you want to make sure everything's working in the mono mix because sometimes things can go wrong. I'll give an example of that in just a second. I wanted to demonstrate something really quickly. So we're asking in chat, I thought mono was just 2 channels, or it was the sum of both channels. And I'm going to show you the difference of what's going on. A diagram might help. I'm about to draw a diagram for you of mono and stereo. If only Affinity Photo would open. Everyone clap for Affinity Photo. You got this. Excellent, excellent. So, mono. If you can imagine sound as circles for a moment, if you will. When you're hearing a full stereo signal, it's going to be like left channel, right channel, and then mono channel, right? This is not an exact diagram, but hopefully it illustrates better what's happening. So left, right, and mid, mono. When you're listening in stereo, you're listening to all of this. When you're listening in mono, you're only hearing this, this stuff right here. And this area, the left and right, the side channels, is where all the width and size comes from in the audio. And it's possible to only hear that or only hear that. Mono isn't the sum of the side channels, it's the difference. And the side channels are everything that's left over. And so, if you're listening to a mono on a mono system, this stuff just disappears. All the side information disappears, and you're only hearing the mono. So, for those of you who didn't hear the audio I was playing at that one point, that's because you could only hear the mono, and I muted the mono channel. So all that was playing was the side channels, which is why you didn't hear anything. If that makes sense. So, have any of you ever, like, stuck your headphones partway in, but not fully, into, like, a sound system, and suddenly it sounded like you can only hear the instrumental of a song? Like, oh my god, how did I just take the vocals out of the song? Have any of you ever experienced that before? The reason why that happens is because there's a bunch of different rings on the headphone jack, and each one represents one of these channels. And so when you only put it in halfway, you're going to single out one of these. And oftentimes it kind of depends on how far you've done it. So it feels like, holy shit, I figured out how to take the vocals out of a song. No, what you've done is vocals are usually always going to be mono. There's almost never going to be stereo information for vocals unless there's reverb or something. So when you stuck that thing in and it's only halfway, you're hearing just the side channels. The vocals aren't present because the vocals are usually mixed into the mono only. Which is why that happens. So, again, for those of you who are listening in stereo, I was just using a switch to flip between stereo and mono, but I actually also have a slider. Check this out. So this is a little bit hard to see. I apologize. Actually, I might have a kilohertz thing. Shout out Kilohertz. All their plugins are free. Google them. I mean, most of the plugins are free. Okay, here we go. I could make this really big. Check this out. For everyone listening in stereo, watch what happens when I change this width knob. See how the width goes away all of a sudden? The side channels are gone because we're turning this down. And now we can do the inverse. Let's take away just the mono stuff. And you're asking what happens at 200%. So for the width knob, and this is the case for most stereo tools, if you turn it up past 100%, it just increases the volume of the side channels only. Watch. Now, you can't just take something like this and make a mono sound stereo by turning up the width knob. There has to be stereo information first for this width knob to even do anything. So that's important to note. But yeah, that's how that works. And also, panning. Well, check this out. you can choose what percentage of the channel is playing sounds, how loud it is on each side. So that's fun. Anyway, long story short, when you're making music as an engineer, if you're a beginner to music, you do not need to think about this stuff. Please do not think about this stuff. Don't worry about it right now. But if you're a more experienced musician and you go start getting serious with stuff, you should always make sure your song sounds good when it's set to mono. Because most people are not going to listen in mono, but sometimes it's inevitable. In fact, like when you're at a live event, a lot of the times they're actually playing audio in mono because some stereo fuckery can happen with noise cancellation and stuff. Even with the best speaker systems that try to nullify that as much as possible. A lot of the times they're just going to be playing stuff in mono. Even full-on bands and DJs will have their stuff output in mono. In fact, my performance in 2017 at BronyCon was in mono. So, I don't remember why. I think it was just a limitation with their system, or my system. But that's just how it happened. And another example is for BabsCon Online 2020, when I played. I accidentally streamed in mono. I wasn't intending to. I just accidentally streamed in mono. It's hard to explain how that happened, but it happened. And so, for situations where there are accidents or there's necessities or people just don't have the capability to listen in stereo, you need to make sure your song sounds good when there's no side information, when it's just the mono channel. Which might sound like, yeah, of course, that should be simple enough. But you have to remember that things tend to cancel each other out and phase all weirdly. And I think it's time to demonstrate the Haas effect. Everyone in chat who knows about the Haas effect, start cheering. It's time to talk about the Haas effect. For everyone who doesn't know about the Haas effect, I'm about to blow your mind, I think. So, if you're listening in stereo, this may blow your mind a little bit. So, I have this saw wave. It's in mono. The saw wave is in mono. In my brain, I'm like, I want to make this sound wider, bigger in the stereo spectrum. Well, a rudimentary thought. What if I took this sound and duplicated it and delayed one on one side and made it normal on the other side? So I'll explain what I mean. Let's take the delay here. Let's change the feedback to that. Okay, so what a delay does is it's an echo, essentially. But what if I could do that on a channel basis, right? So now they're at 1 millisecond, so essentially instantaneous. But what if I then took one channel of this delay and offset it by a little bit? For those of you think in stereo, you might be thinking, oh my god, wow, it's so wide sounding now. Everyone listening in mono right now is freaking out because it sounds terrible. So if you're listening in stereo, this sounds kind of cool. It's like I took a mono sound and made it stereo by just doing this delay thing. But, so we know it sounds good in stereo. I feel like that's an interesting effect in stereo. But, remember that slider I had for the width? Well, for everyone who's listening in mono, why don't we listen in to what they can hear when I play the sound? Are you ready? Ooh, ow, what the fuck? That doesn't sound right, does it? Why is that happening? It sounds great when it's in full width. But when it's in mono, it's like, that sounds disgusting. That's disgusting. Why does it sound like that? Well, that's because that's the Haas effect. The left and right channels, if you can imagine them in time. Actually, I could just demonstrate this through a sound. So let's just take this kick drum. I'm going to duplicate this track so there's two of the exact same kick drum playing at the same time. I'm going to take one track and pan it all the way to the left. And take the other track and pan it all the way to the right. When I play them together, they just add up to be the normal sound. If I take the one that's playing only on the right and move it just by a little bit. Oh wow. It's in stereo. We turned this kick drum into stereo. But again, if we group these together and use that width knob, oh no, suddenly the kick drum is weak, it's all pitchy and weird, and it gets even worse when you do this. It's like, what the fuck? Now the bass is gone. The kick drum doesn't have any bass anymore. All because of that. So, we've discussed this on stream before, but what happens is there's interference in the frequencies. Let's go ahead and put these kick drums to play at the exact same time again. So you can see a nice full waveform when they're playing at the exact same time. But as soon as we offset these, there's some weird dips going on in the frequencies. And now you can see the bass is gone. And what's happening is different parts of the sound are canceling each other out, and different parts of the sound are strengthening each other. And so, long story short, even if you're not doing something that extreme to your sounds in your music, it might be happening on a small level if you're using things like reverb and chorus and different delays and stuff. So that's why when you're making music, you usually want to go in here and click the mono button. Just make sure it sounds good in mono. And in this case, with the song we've made, the song does not fall apart when I switch it to mono. It still sounds legible. You can still understand what's going on. So, yeah, that's the reason why you want to like listen to your song in mono sometimes. Just double check to make sure everything sounds correct. Especially if you do something with crazy time warping effects, like if you add a bunch of reverb, you'll be like, okay, I want to make sure this sounds good in mono, that the mono version doesn't completely fall apart. And then the next thing to do is to know how to fix problems as they come up. Now, the reason why I didn't have to fix anything is because by default, whenever I'm making music, I usually know exactly how something's going to sound in mono for the most part. The only time it becomes unpredictable is if it's like a growl, like a dubstep growl. That I'm really frequently checking, because when you're doing growls, that there's a lot of like phase interference and stuff. But by default, I usually already know how to avoid things that cause problems in stereo, which might be an unfair skill to have, but because I don't have to check as much as most people. But in general, what does a growl sound like in mono? Well, I can show you what can happen if your growl is not... if you have a really intense growl and it doesn't sound good in mono. Let's see. One of the most common growl... let's do something really simple. We go to spectral, do this. This is like the simplest growl I can do. Just as fast as possible. Let's do, yeah. And then... just a very simple bread and butter bend plus minus growl. This is as simple as they come, guys. Now, some things that people like to do is they like to take these wavetables and then add unison to them to make them lighter, of course. And then do the whole random detune thing down. This is a very common rhythm growl, is stuff like this. And this sounds incredible in stereo. You cannot tell me that doesn't sound sick as hell. But the moment you take the utility and you say, make it mono, well, now all you hear are those like really hissy, high harmonic stuff, and that kind of makes the growl purposeless. So, you have to find the right balance. You can still have crazy pitch warping here, but that sounds acceptable enough in mono, in my opinion. And then you can add some hyper dimension. See how that sounds in mono? It's fine. In mono it sounds okay. Not the best, but okay. Oh, what the fuck? That's kind of cool sounding. Anyway, long story short, if you're going to work on music and you want to get serious about it, make sure to be checking your mixes in mono to make sure they don't completely fall apart. But I gotta go to bed very soon, so to leave off, everyone seems to be liking the growls, so I'll show you one of my favorite growls that I've made and how I use it. It's in here. What did I call it? I think I just called it because it was it just called Skrilly? I think it was called Skrilly. So here's a growl I made that I haven't used in a song yet, but here's the processing chain for it and the modulation. I just love this growl so much. So part of the way I've achieved this sound is we have this morph EQ which is doing this shape. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then using some frequency dispersion with the EQ3. What is this doing? It's just doing a big fat whomp. And then I have homicide here. Secret weapon, big saturation distortion. Here's what happens when you play a growl in the subharmonics. It does this. Yeah, guys, like someone said in chat, this is free right now. Just type homicide, OHMICIDE, and they've made it free. And it's a big secret weapon distortion plugin. It's free. There's no reason to not get it. And here's what it would sound like if we added that unison trick. I know it's also hard to see, but over on the left-hand side here, I'm using a pitch bend and a mod wheel to get this to happen. If I just press a note, you don't get much because all the movement's happening with this mod wheel, which you can see being moved around down here. Unfortunately, I could listen to this forever. I could just listen to the same sound forever. I'm serious. Out of curiosity, I'm curious what it sounds like with the really, like, sharp flanger from Shaver Box here. So my process for making like bass drops is I'll make instruments like this, and then basically what I'll do is I'll just set up a parallel track, hit resample, and just make sounds like that. Oh, that last one was delicious. Listen to that one. It's got that really pronounced ow, like vowel sound. Oh, that's great. And then what I'll do is I'll of course like just take some basic. So that's kind of like my process for making a drop, is I'll make more than just one patch, and I'll just kind of like make a bunch of sounds. Like I have literally some of the songs on Girls Who Are Wizards, it will be like a 15-second drop or something, but I will have made like 45 minutes of growls just to make that one 15-second section. It's insane, because how big is my hard drive? 2, 4, 6, Right now, my hard drives on my desk combined are 18 terabytes. So, that's fun. Hold up. So, before I go to bed, as you know, I did the whole Canon catalog update last year. And as a result, I actually have folders for every single thing I've ever done and released. And it just has all the master files. Like, here's Excited About Burger. Has that thing. Has that thing. If you want to go see the Paradise Valley one, it has all the tracks as they were mixed for the album. Has the booklet stuff, all the booklet projects I made. Has the main artwork all organized. It has artwork that wasn't the main artwork that was still part of the project. And so, when you know that that's how these things work in the system now I should tell you that Girls for Wizards is 20 gigabytes in size. Just the master folder of all the finished files is 20 gigabytes. So, yeah, that's fun. So 20 gigabytes for Girls for Wizards, because it's been a beefy project. And this is not including the Ableton projects; those are somewhere else. But yeah. Anyway, this is my process for making a drop. Just with maybe like 5 or 6 patches in total, and 20 to 30 to 40 minutes of recordings each patch. Like, I can show you one of those right now. I can show you one of those recordings. This folder right here is my growls folder. These are all growls. So, what's the donk method? Sounds like this. You can hear I'm just like adding more ideas to it, like changing different parameters inside and adding more effects as I go on. And this file is actually one of the shorter ones. It's 7 minutes and 30 seconds. How about this one? How long is this one? Okay, now this one is only 10 minutes. The vowels got a little silly at the end there. What the fuck is Pizza Power Alien? Let's find out. This doesn't look like a growl. But I put it in the growl folder, probably because I was intending to use it as one. Can I be honest? I don't remember how I made this, and I'm really scared because I don't remember making it. Oh, that's why it's in the growl folder. It's because of stuff like this. That's so cool. What is this one? Why is it called Metaverse Hyperchroma? Why did I name it that? Obviously that's a pitch map thing. Here's the original growl. Oh, this is like old school dubstep. Oh, what? That is a tasty, tasty thing right there. Hold up. Just like put that into a sampler and you can just get this. Hi, I'd like to put you in a sampler. Let me do that. Shh. Hi, I'd like to put you in a sampler. Are you ready? Thank you. And just throw on classic OTT. Maybe make this. What am I doing? Mono. We want to make this mono. Kind of a sick sound, if I do say so myself. Anything else I want to look at before I get out? What is Trash 3? Oh, this is when Trash 3 came out. I made this girl. What? I like this. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Did I hear 185 beats per minute? No, I heard 195. Sorry, whoever just heard that, that's the... I've just been collecting sounds that I know. This is from the Martin Garrix. Right? This is from Zed, Skrillex, Scary Monsters remix. This is Big Room House. This is from a bunch of different things. Underscores use this sound in skin purifying treatment, which is great. There's the Brain Crash stab, which was just in this Vengeance pack for some reason. This one's from Savant's Space Wolf. It says Dead Mouse, Ghosts and Stuff. Dead Mouse, Ghosts and Stuff again. That's the You know the one. So there's that one. Okay, now's the time. Now's the time. Thanks for we held 100 viewers starting at 2 in the morning all the way to 5 in the morning for me. So that's kind of crazy. Thank you for coming. I'm going to bed. I probably will not stream for a bit because it's about to have the heat wave, and I'm just gonna feel like shit through the heat wave, and we don't want me to feel like shit while I'm streaming. So, everyone, Girls for Wizards in literally a week. Girls for Wizards in a week. I'm very excited. Everything's ready. Oh, and we have a booklet. I wasn't planning on doing a booklet, but then today I was just like, I'm gonna make a booklet, so I made a booklet. So we have a booklet, and if Girls for Wizards is received well, we will do a CD release of that, and I think it will be the first CD release with a full printed booklet. That's why I made the booklet today. So we can have a printed one if everyone likes the album. So, thanks for coming. That's Pooh. Yay.